Hello everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna and I am an acrylic artist. I just want to say thanks for stopping by to paint with me today. Today we're going to be painting on fabric and we're going to be using fabric paints, and I think you are going to enjoy what we're going to do today. So let me show you what we're going to paint. We're going to paint my Harvest pillow cover. Now I did paint this with fabric paints, Deco Art So Soft fabric paints. You can use acrylic paints and you can add a fabric medium to your paint and just use your regular acrylics. I used what paints I had on hand, so the colors that I had are the colors that I painted it, but if you have brighter colors that you would like to use, then by all means use what colors appeal to you. Now I want to tell you a little bit about the pillow cover. First of all, it fits a 16 by 16 inch pillow form. It is an envelope pillow cover. I make them. They're triple reinforced on the sides. And the proceeds from every single sale of every pillow cover that I have on my website, and I do have a variety, goes to benefit St. Jude's. So if you would like to support St. Jude's, please purchase one of my pillow covers, and the price that you pay for the pillow cover goes directly to St. Jude's. And I just want to say thank you to those who have purchased my pillow covers. I really appreciate your support in helping me support St. Jude's. The word on the stencil on the pillow is from my Be Happy stencil. If you painted my bee with me and purchased the stencil, the Be Happy stencil, this word is on that stencil. This is my gray wood pillow cover on my website. I have a variety, but you know, there's only limited fabrics out there that you can get, and so what I have is all I have. I always look for fabrics that sell the best, which this is one of my best sellers. But you know, once they stop making a fabric, there's really not anything you can do about it but find another fabric that everyone loves. So if you want a pillow cover and you want to help me support St. Jude's, please head over to lonnalamb.com and purchase your pillow cover, your stencil while you're there, and your packet for this pattern, which is my Harvest pillow cover. So we're going to grab our fabric paints, or your acrylic paints if you're going to use that with a fabric medium, and grab your brushes. Your brushes need to be good brushes, but not your best brushes. Fabric is a little bit harder on your brushes, so we don't want to use our best brushes on our fabric. So let's grab our supplies and let's get ready to paint. Okay, we're going to start painting on this pillow cover here. This is one of my white wood grain pillow covers that I sell on my website. It's an envelope style pillow cover, holds a 16 by 16 inch pillow form. So we want to insert in here some cardboard that is covered with Glad press and seal. Now we want cardboard that's a little bit flexible, that we can bend, but we don't want it to bend and have too many like deep grooves in it, because this has got some deep grooves in it. So if I put this in here, I want another piece on top of it so that I'm not painting into those grooves. So I'm going to put these two pieces in here. This piece of cardboard also has some give and bend to it. It has grooves, so I'm going to put it in the back. It's got its Glad press and seal on it. And then this is just a piece of mat board. I like it because it is really flexible. You can bend it a little bit easier without causing it to really collapse like cardboard does, because cardboard has the variegation in it, and so it's going to bend where those are. So I'm going to turn it over. Now you want your pieces to not be as big as what the pillow cover is, and you want to put two in there, and I'll show you why. And the reason you don't want it to be as big is because it's a little bit tricky to get it in here. You kind of got to bend it and maneuver it and play with it. I'm going to go ahead and stick this one in. Make sure your Glad press and seal is towards the front, and we're just going to manipulate it into that fabric. Now I've triple reinforced these edges over here, so hopefully you won't have any issues with that, putting the cardboard in. So I have two pieces in here, and I want them all the way to the side, to this corner and this corner. So what I need to do is take the one that's in the back and shake it down to the top, and the one that's in the front, shake it down to the bottom, and then I need to shake them both down to that edge. And make sure my cover is smoothed out. I can, from the back, I can push them in. I can push that one into the upper corner. And this one I can push into that corner so we can get them nice and tight against that side. We don't want any bunching of our fabric. Then we're going to fold it over, and I'm going to use some masking tape and tape down. Tape down this edge. Re-pull that because I want to make sure it is good and tight. This is going to make it easier to paint on the cover. So tape that side down, and then if your cardboard doesn't go all the way to the top, you'll want to fold the top over and tape it down as well. I've got mine going all the way up because we have a pretty good size design that we're putting on here. And my design, I've drawn it out on some tracing paper. And we're going, and then I printed it off onto 2 sheets of vellum because it's a large pattern and it won't fit on one sheet. So I'm going to lay them on here and line up my lines here. And then I'll take some tape and tape these two together so I can have one big pattern. If you don't have vellum, you can just do it like this and print it off on a large piece of tracing paper. I like to use vellum because it's more sturdy to try and trace on. And then I'm going to figure out where I want it on my pillow cover. I don't want my leaf to go off, so be aware of where your lines are. And then I'm going to tape this down to the pillow cover so that I can begin transferring all of my lines on here. Okay? So you're going to want to have some gray graphite paper, and I'm going to slide this up underneath my pattern, and I'm going to trace it with a stylus, and I'm going to use a little bit bigger tip stylus. These styluses I got from Hobby Lobby, and they come in a set of 3, but I can only find 2 of mine. There should be one that has a couple of ends that are even bigger than this one. So I'm going to take, this would be the medium size one. I'm going to use it and probably use this fatter end. I'll see how it will work. I don't want to tear my vellum, but I do want to be able to push a little bit harder because on fabric things don't always transfer as easy. So I'm going to have to go back and forth on my lines just a little bit. You want to do a test first. You know, do a line, like do a line out here and test it and see how well it's transferring. That's not very dark. It's right there. I can see it, but I would still want it to be a little bit darker. Plus with the vellum, you can see what lines you've gone over. I think I'm going to go to the little bit smaller end. I think that might do a little bit better. And right here is where my 2 cardboards meet, so it's going to be a little bit trickier. It's probably going to poke holes in my vellum, which it did, but no big deal. Okay, we're getting some good lines on there now. And so I just want to go and do every single line that I have on here. And like I said, with the vellum, you can clearly see which ones I've done. So I'll go off camera and finish transferring on my lines, and then we will be back. Oh, one tip I want to give you for your apples. If you have a circle template, which I bought mine at Michael's, I'm sure Hobby Lobby sells them as well, you want to use this to draw your circles in. And I use this size of circle, which is a 2 3/4 inch circle. And I'll just lay it on top of there and then run my stylus right around to that point. I have this little arch in my apple, so then I'll just come in and do the little arch line. So that's an easy way to get your apple shapes on there. So I'm going to go finish all of my lines and come back. Alright, I've got all my lines transferred on here now, and you can pretty much see them. I didn't add my stems onto my I mean apples. They could be tomatoes. So we're going to start painting our sunflowers in, and I'm going to start with bright yellow. Now if you are not using fabric paints, which is what I'm using, you'll want to use a fabric medium into your paint, and you mix it 2 to 1, 2 parts paint, 1 part medium, and that will work just fine. And I also like to use a little bit older brushes, but still decent for painting on fabric, because fabric is a little bit tougher on your brushes. So I'm just going to start painting in my yellow leaves, and we have a lot of yellow leaves on here. This is the bright yellow. I'm not going to worry too much about how well the coverage is. I don't want to see my lines, so I'm going to try and paint over them. I mean, they'll show up for a while until I do, you know, start adding more layers of color on here. So it's just filling in. And this particular piece of fabric, I need to move my cardboard. Which one? I need to move the bottom one up and make it flat up here on the top. Okay, because I was getting a ridge there. Oops, wrong brush. I was getting a ridge, and it was making my paint fall down into that ridge, so that's why you don't want to have any cardboard that has a ridge. But I had the ridge from the 2 pieces, so I scooted the bottom one up towards the top, so now I don't have any cardboard at the bottom. So when I get down there, I'll have to make sure that I shake it back down. If you have 2 pieces of cardboard that are, you know, sometimes I use a great big one and then I use a small one. So I have several pieces of cardboard that I keep, that I just have Glad press and seal on. So depending on what project I'm wanting to use, I've always got cardboard ready to go, and in several different sizes, because I don't know, you know, what project I'm going to be painting at any given time. So this is just kind of repetitive stuff right here, this painting in the petals. So just, you know, take your time, enjoy the process. Now some fabrics are different than other fabrics when it comes to painting on them. Some are a little bit more almost textured. Some are thinner, which is fine. Thinner doesn't usually matter too much. But some of the ones that are a little more textured fabric, it can almost like it would for a piece of wood, it almost like raises the grain, and that's a little unusual for when you're painting on fabric. But what I do, that means, generally means the first coat of paint that you put on is going to be a little bit more difficult to put on, and you're going to have to work a little bit more putting it on. But when I do that, I generally come back when it is completely dry, and I sand the fabric with a very fine sanding pad, and just kind of take the raised part out of the fabric, kind of like you would with wood. That's why we use multi-purpose sealer on our wood, to keep it from raising the grain. And that's not the only reason we use multi-purpose sealer, but with fabric, you could lay some fabric medium down first if your fabric is very difficult, you know, and wants to soak up too much paint. You can put some fabric medium down on the fabric first, and then that will kind of prepare the fabric a little bit, and then when you go to paint on top of that, it should be a little bit easier to do. So you have that option. And we'll still probably see some of the background coming through this, you know, of the fabric, which to me is fine. I love that look, and this is more of a rustic kind of piece here, so I'm okay with that kind of showing through there. But you can see how smoothly this goes on to this fabric, and it goes on so nice. I really love this fabric. I was able to get some more of it, and got some more pillow covers cut. Now, all of my pillow covers, in case you've never done a pillow cover with me before, every penny of the sale of these pillow covers goes to St. Jude's. So when you buy a pillow cover from me, you are supporting St. Jude's, and I just want to say thank you so much for doing that, because it is a great cause. We've given to St. Jude's for a few years now. We have lots of charities that we like to try and give to, but you know, you can only do what you can do. But if you can encourage others to give as well, the rewards are so much better for you in return. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and do this one. You see how quickly I did a coat of paint, and look how bright that paint is. I love it. It is just a wonderful paint. I'm going to put some more out. I like to squirt out just a little bit at a time, because I don't know how much I'm going to need, and even though the paint is very affordable, I don't want to be wasting any of my paint. And you can see, I can still see my lines, so that's going to be helpful as we add more layers on here. I'm just using an angle brush. This is an older one. It's a size, a 1/2 inch, but it's still a decent one. So those are the kind of brushes that you want to use on your fabric. You don't want anything that's really wore out, unless you're needing something to just cause some scruffy type areas. And I'm not worrying about getting it into the center, because the center is going to be dark. We're going to work on all of these petals and get them done. And I'm a pretty fast painter, so don't feel like you have to keep up with me. You just paint at your own pace and what feels comfortable. I've painted on fabric for a while now, so I've kind of, you know, figured out a little bit of how to do it. Okay, I'm still on underneath the cardboard's still underneath my pattern here. It's my apples when I get ready to paint those in that I will need to watch out for. This petal goes underneath the leaf here. And I'm not going to worry if I get some on the leaf. I'll just enhance the color a little bit. We can have a little bit of yellow peeking out here. And we have one here. It goes behind the leaf. I like to use the angle brush to paint in my design because I can use that tip to really get into tight areas, and I don't feel like I have to get a different brush to do that. And then this petal comes up here underneath. It goes underneath that other flower. And then I might have forgotten a line in here because there should be, this is a petal that comes around here. And then one more that is right through here. Okay, so we've got our petals all painted in. I'm going to rinse my brush out. I want to get some base coats on the stems and the leaves now. Oh, I forgot this little guy over here. Let me do him real quick. It's a little bud over here. So we'll just paint him in. Let's see how he goes. This is all yellow in here. There's a leaf there and a leaf there. Couldn't make this one that comes up in front. You could make it a leaf, which I might do after I start painting my leaves. I might put that a green color there. Okay, so for my leaves and my stems, I've got these two color of greens, and if I didn't like them, I could pull out some of my regular Americana paints and mix some fabric medium with them. But I'm going to put both of these out. And I think I'll put a little bit of black out, because I want the stem to be a little bit darker than the leaves, but I don't want the leaves to be bright. I want to be able to highlight them a little bit. Actually, I think I might put some brown out. I've got brown, which would be like maybe a milk chocolate or a sable brown color, and then I've got black. So I'll just put a little bit of each one of these out, because I want to darken my green here. This green right here I want to darken. I'm going to see if it will darken with some brown. I don't think it will, so we're going to go with some black. And we're going to darken that. I'm going to add a little bit of this. I just want you to play around with your color mixing and find a color that you like a lot. And I'm just going to be brush mixing. So I don't want you to feel like you have to mix a whole bunch. Just brush mix. But I do want the leaves to be a little bit different color than the stem. And there's a leaf there. The stem comes there. And I'll probably just take it all the way to the very edge of this pillow. I mix it a little bit dark now, all the way to the edge. And the stems for sunflowers are a pretty substantial stem. They're generally holding a pretty good sized flower. So, and then this one over here, we can see a little bit of this stem. So I'm just up on the toe of my angle brush, filling that in. And then over here by the apple. And I'm thinking I may add a leaf to one of the apples on here. So oops. Okay, so now I want to work on my leaves, and I want a little bit more of that lighter green. I might add a little bit of yellow into it. So I just took my dirty brush over here to my light green and mixed it with what was on my brush, and then I'm going to grab some yellow and put some of that in there and make this a little bit lighter green. Just play around with your paints and your colors. Learning to mix and have fun with your paints, man, you can create so many amazing colors. It's just so much fun. Put a little bit more yellow out here so I can mix some more. I want to keep this a little bit lighter, not crazy light, because I want to be able to come back in and highlight on here. I just want to get all of our base coating in here. Your piece as you need to. And it's okay if the colors in your leaf as your base coating have varied values. That is going to make it look so much better. Alright, let me do some more here. This big leaf up here. I could go to a much bigger brush that, would probably be easier. I always say use a bigger brush for bigger projects. But I've got this one loaded with the paint already, so I'm just going to continue with it. These leaves might take a little bit to dry, so if you have a hair dryer or a heat gun, you have to be careful with the heat gun since they get so hot. You don't want them to get too hot on this fabric. You probably want to hold it a little bit farther away than you normally would. A little bit more of this one. Okay, that's got a lot of paint up there. So I'm going to a little bit more yellow, I think, in the mix, and come down here and do these smaller leaves. And I think I might go ahead and make this one on here a leaf instead of a petal. And let's see, I want to put a leaf on one of my apples. So my this apple is going to be the top is going to be here, so I'll have a stem here. So I think I'll make a leaf here. Okay, so that's pretty much a roughed in first coat there. And there might be a few places here and there that the paint didn't quite cover. You might see it on your leaves more than any place else. So just take what's left of your brush and just kind of scrub it in there to the fabric a little bit. I think this leaf needs a little bit more attention. Ugh, every time I do that I get paint where I don't want it. Okay. So now I want to paint my apples in. I almost called them tomatoes again. So I'm going to make sure there's no paint on my hands. First of all, that's one important tip that I really want to give you is as you're painting on fabric, always check your hands before you touch your fabric. So I'm just going to shake down that one that's in front so I can paint in my apples. And I'm going to paint them in with red pepper. And this color is probably like a cad red. Maybe you could go with a country red if you're using Americana paints. That's the color it resembles to me. I think I'll grab a bigger paintbrush for this. Paint these circles in a little bit faster. And I'm sure I'll need a lot more paint out on my palette than I currently have. I'm going to go right up to that edge. Don't go out past it. Keep your apples a nice shape. You could do pumpkins on here as well if you wanted to do some pumpkins. I almost did pumpkins, but then, you know, I do a lot of pumpkin designs, so I thought I'm going to mix it up a little bit and do some apples on here. Go around my leaf, I just painted the tip of it. I just cannot tell you how well this paints on this particular fabric. It is just amazing. Alright, we got a little bump out down there where the stem, or you know, the end of the apple is, I guess not the stem, but where it formed from its bud. And I might, when I'm done with this, come in and add like some blueberries or something around here. I think that would make a lovely addition to this. Go around all your elements. So fun. You can buy pillow covers from just about any place, but I know I just mentioned the St. Jude's thing, but if you buy them from me, you are supporting such a worthy cause. One more here to base coat, and we can start adding some fabulous stuff to this. Now the only thing that is a little bit more difficult, you can do it, but it's a little bit more difficult on fabric, is if you're doing something where you need to shade underneath, like you would shade on the background to like set something on a tabletop or make a shadow on something. It's a little bit harder to do on fabric. It can be done. I have done it, but you know, I don't wash my decorative pillows, but if you wash your decorative pillows, that's the only part that I would probably worry about it coming out a little bit, because I have to thin it with water to use it, to do that. And but I could thin it with some transparent medium. It's just that the water makes it flow like watercolor, which gives it a much prettier look. Okay, we got all of our base coats on, so we're ready to start adding some pretty colors on here. Now I don't have a ton of fabric paint, so I'm going to try and just use the colors that I have and see how it works out. I might have to create I know I'm going to have to create a darker orange than that, so I'm going to take my yellow and mix some red with it and see if I can create a nice yellow or orange. I would like to have a very pretty orange. Yeah, we're getting a nice orange in there. That's something in my paint. So that's a pretty color right there. So I want to start putting this at the base of my petals. That's 2 petals right there. I'm going to put some yellow out. So as I'm doing this, if I need to grab some yellow and blend, I can. And I might separate a few of my leaves with this color as well. Or my petals, not my leaves. But I want this mostly at the base, so I'm going to, I think, staying up on the chisel of the brush and pulling this out would be best. I think I might have some antique gold. I'll have to go look. I think I have antique gold in fabric paint. So I want to pull this up. I'm going to go right into that center because I don't want a line here. Of course I can fix that when I do my center, but I know I'm getting paint on this finger, so I have to be careful that I don't grab my fabric with that. Now I'll definitely have to come back with some more of my yellow. And just mix a color that, you know, really, that you like. And when you're painting on fabric, you can use stiffer brushes. I think, like if you're painting on fabric that is a little bit more of a raised fabric, you might want a little bit stiffer brush in there. Okay, I'm going to come back with some of my yellow and just blend a little bit. I think I'm going to look and see if I have some antique gold. Okay, I do have some antique gold, but I'm going to take some of that bright yellow that I started with and just pull some into that orange that I put on there. This is a very loose style of painting. I just feel like that when you paint, the more loose you can try instead of being so precise and confined to a specific way, you can make such amazing art. And where your brush goes, that's where the paint's meant to be. So that's what I tell people anyway. I'm just pulling some of this bright yellow back into that orange a little bit. Then we're going to take some antique gold and we're going to shade on these petals. So we want to separate our petals. Some antique gold. Ooh, that's way too much paint. Right, where's my petal? I don't know where my petal is. If you can tell where your petal is, it looks like it's right there. Then you want to try and put a little bit of this. There's one there, and we'll make this a little darker here. And I know it's looking messy and you're going, that's never going to look like anything, but you guys have got to have some faith. Trust me, I have not ever led you astray. We've got to get through all the ugly stages before we get to the beautiful stage. And don't be telling me that your whole painting is in the ugly stage all the way through. I'm not buying that at all. At all. Constantly moving this so I can try and be at a better angle for putting this color on here. And I'm not actually floating the color on, I'm just almost lining it on there and then just smoothing it out. And I don't know how much of the antique gold you can actually see. And I think that's where I started. Right there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to put some light color on the tips. I've got a couple of colors here, cadmium yellow hue and pineapple. And I'm thinking pineapple might be too light, but this might not be light enough. So I'm going to try the cadmium yellow hue, which would be pretty close to a moon yellow. I'm just going to go ahead and work on this flower right here. Let's see if this color is even going to show up to give us a highlight. It's going to give us a little bit of one, so I think I'll start with this one, and then I'm going to keep this at the tips. Find your shape on your edge and then just pull down. Probably come back and add a little white to this and get a little bit brighter highlight on these. I'm loading my brush for every single petal. And normally I work on a rotating easel, but for a pillow cover it's a little bit harder because it's so big, and I have to be able to manipulate it a little bit more. It's looking good. Not to paint on my brush there. Go down this edge. We'll definitely have to redo those up there. They are not bright enough. Turn your project as you need to. Yep, definitely have to add some white. Get a little bit brighter highlight on here. You definitely want to know which petal is on top. Push my cardboard down there because it's causing a little bit of a ridge. This one's on top here, so we want to know that. Okay, it's starting to look really pretty. I like that orange in there because it's giving it a little bit more of a fall look. Okay, that's looking really pretty. I think I'll go down and work on this one and let those colors dry a little bit, So when I come back in and add my brighter on the tips and maybe a little bit darker in the center, it will show up a little bit more. So I did an orange mix here with that red, and I've got another red here, Santa red. It's a darker red. I don't know if it would make a darker orange or not. And then I used cadmium yellow. No, I used bright yellow. So I'm just going to mix some of that. Mix quite a bit of it up here so I can do all of my petals. This one doesn't have as many petals, so. And you can do both of these at the same time so that you're working it all at the same time. Let's put just a little bit in here. I know it looks messy. We have to get through these ugly stages. Sometimes they can take a while. Okay. I like that little bit darker color on it. I might go up here and do a little bit of the darker up here. I'll wash my brush out, dry it out, and side load. And just do this right along the edge. Definitely have to come back in and do my highlights through there. So pretty. Alright, I'm going to take my bright yellow like I did up here and pull some of that into our orange. Some of those lines down a little bit. This is not the same way of painting that you do decorative painting. So it's a different style, different way of painting to get kind of the same effect. Alright, I'm going to go into my antique gold. While that's drying just a little bit, I'm going to come over here and put some on my bud over here. Go around my leaf. I'm going to grab a little bit of that orange in my mix and create some little bit of texture in there. And we'll come back in and highlight that. It's a little bit harder to see the color because it's so small. Okay, antique gold. And let's see. We did the shadowy edge. I might put a little bit of this in here. Change the look up of this one a little bit. Make sure I get all these that are behind separated. This one here has a little fold on it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that look on the fabric as well as I would on wood. Okay, let's add some of our light color, which we did cadmium yellow hue, which would be moon yellow and Americana paints. We'll put some highs on here. Tell which one of these in front, so I'm just going to make a decision. This one's going to be in front. Just take your time. Okay, so this one, let's see if I can give it a I'll have to come back and darken that because that's not looking right. fresh paint for every single petal. Make sure you can tell which petal is on top and which one is behind. Okay, so got that. I'm going to go back over here to this little guy, put a little bit more. You're just giving the illusion on that bud right there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to this one that I did up there. I'm going to float a little bit of that darker orange. I'll put a little bit of it over here. Okay, let's grab some white now. And we are going to put the white on the very tips of our petals. Alright, make sure I don't have any paint on this hand. I know I have paint on this hand, so I have to be careful. So this is just on the tips. If you like it more yellow on the tips, you can certainly leave it more yellow. This is almost a whimsical type piece. Just a fun one, and you don't have to think too much about it. Just put your brush on there and let it go. I feel like I'm losing a little bit of my yellow, so I am going to come back in when this dries, and I am going to create a wash of my bright yellow. Now I can do that on top here because I have all those layers of paint now that my wash can stick to. Go out here on this and add a few highlights paints on it. And then I'll come down and do this one. And the centers are going to be pretty easy. Definitely going to make them more on the playful, whimsical side. Now you can also, I have on fabric, use the media fluid acrylics. And oops, I loved using them. Again, I did a pillow cover with them, so mine are all decorative. I don't generally wash them. I have to figure out how to make this turn on this leaf look better. Because right now that leaf looks like it is just standing out there all by itself. I might make it just a tad wider. I'm sure the pattern doesn't call for it to be wider, but I feel like it needs to be. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm liking it, I'm liking it, I'm liking it. I want that to dry before I do anything else to it. Actually, I might go ahead and paint the center in. So we're going to get some black and paint our centers in. And I told you the centers would be pretty easy. I think I'll go to my bigger brush here. I can put it in faster. Just paint it in black. Don't make this like a perfect little oval. You know, you want some irregularity in it. So you see I'm kind of tapping and pouncing and putting the paint in. Beautiful paint, I'm telling you. It is just painting so beautifully on this fabric. I think this is the first time I've painted on this particular one. I don't remember now. And if I have time at the end, I'll show you some other pillow covers I did, but I'd have to go gather them up because they're all over. I do have a couple of other videos on my YouTube channel that show you how to paint a couple of different designs on a pillow cover. So we have our centers in. I want those to get dry. So let's work on our leaves. I think our leaves are going to be pretty fast because I don't want to do anything crazy difficult. So I'm going to put out some more of the bright avocado. This is a bright green. This is, I don't know, maybe close to a festive green. And then I have this really bright green apple. So you could go with a citron green, a chartreuse yellow maybe. You could even go with an olive green. And I'm going to put those two out. I want to kind of mix them a little bit. Make this kind of a little bit brighter green. And I'm going to take my, I'm going to do this one down here first. I'm going to take my brush and touch the tip and just pull back. Pull back. pull back. I'm going to add some shading in here. Just pull back. Go to the side, pull back. We're pulling towards the stem, so the stem would be right here. We're pulling in that direction. Just making it fun. And fast and easy. We'll come back in and add some dark in there, so I'll just add my line. I want my line to be darker, but I put it in so you could see where I'm going. That got a little bit thicker than what I wanted there. Touch, pull back, touch, pull back, touch, pull back. It's almost like you're dry brushing on fabric. So touch, pull back, touch, pull back. You're going towards the stem. Angle it. Put a little bit more on here. Okay, so let's add some dark in there now. These over here, we're just going to do our regular highlighting and shading like we would on anything else. So I'm going to take my avocado and black, and we're going to take avocado, get over here where I don't have some paint, and black. Make this really dark green. Oops. And so we're going to do the opposite. We're going to come at the stem and pull out. Add a little bit more black in there. The stem and pull out. And then we're going to come back with a brighter green for our highlight. And we really want this at the base of the leaf as well. So I just wiped the excess off my brush, and I'm just going to put this in down here. We want it kind of dark down here. Okay. Do the same here. We're going to touch and pull. Touch on that line and pull. Just a flicking, kind of a dry brush thing, and then we want it darker down here at the base, obviously. And I'm going to float, well, that's on the top, so we don't have to float. Okay, so I want to grab a brighter green now, and I've got this really bright green on here, but I think I'm going to add some yellow to it and make it even brighter. Touch and pull. Just drag that on there. We want some of that to get into that dark color. Super easy. I want this to be fun and playful and almost rustic. Some more of that yellow in the mix there. I want to come all the way to the tip on this one. I want to make a center vein in here. think I'll make this stem here a little bit fatter to hold the leaf. Trying to put a little bit of black along this edge. And maybe put some bright yellow up there. Okay, so that's got the two leaves pretty done. You can come back in and add some bright yellow on there to brighten them up just in a couple of places. I think that would, bright yellow all by itself. We're not going to mix it with the green this time, just bright yellow. Is that bright yellow? No, that's not bright yellow. Bright yellow. It may not show up on here. I'd have to add some white to it. So much back there. I'm going to do it flat. Ooh, keep forgetting about that cardboard there. Flat and then chisel edge. Those are pretty fun. I still feel like the darker needs to be much darker. At least on this one. This one up here looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to put another coat on the black in the center because I can see a lot of fabric coming through there. So this should be just a quick little wet layer here. You can add a little bit of water. Alright, I want to do the stems and these small leaves over here, and I don't want to forget this leaf, and then we can work on the apples. Finish out our centers and details on the flowers. So on the stems, I want to attempt to float with some really dark green, almost black, probably just a touch of green and mostly black. We'll go down the left side here. Do this one. It's a little bit harder to float color on fabric. put a little bit more water in my brush, so maybe I can work that paint a little bit easier. Okay, let me go ahead and do these leaves here. I'll do the base of this one. I'll do this one. That's the avocado with some black mixed in. On the stem. And don't forget the leaf on the apple. And then we're going to highlight with that bright green. Not sure how well it will show up. Might really fade down in there. I'm going to go along, oops, wrong color. I have to do the other side of the stem as well. That could be much brighter, I think. Okay, I think I'm going to have to do the bright yellow on these because they're not really popping too much. Take that bright green and mix some yellow with it. If I pick up the right yellow, it would probably be helpful. Keep picking up the wrong one. Okay, I think that's good on that. So on the stem, I'm going to take these brighter greens, and I think I'll go along the opposite edge and add some highlight on here. And I think that can finish out our stem. Actually, I want to add a little bit of white on there. Just tapping it on. Ooh, we're tapping a lot on. That's a lot. Come back with that bright yellow and green on there. I got way too much white. Okay. Let's just leave those alone. I think I'm going to be happy with them. Okay, I want to float around the center here, and floating, like I said, is hard to do on fabric. I'm going to take some brown, if I can find a spot to mix, and some black. lots of water in my brush, and let's see if this will work. Just go a little bit of a wash around the centers. Take your finger and blend it out if it starts leaving a hard line. We don't want a hard line, we just want a little bit of color on there. Mix a little bit more here. Oops, got those other colors on my finger. Blending them in there. Have to pick a different finger. I have to go clean my fingers off. Okay, that put a little bit of color around the center, darken them up a little bit. So now let's add some detail into the centers, and we're gonna grab a detail liner. I'm going to thin down some brown. I think I'll add some white to it to lighten it up. That might be too light now. A little bit more brown in there. And I just want to create hash marks on here instead of doing any kind of really detail in here. I want to keep it more fun and playful. I'm just using a detail liner and just barely touching over the centers. Okay, how fun is that? Super, super fun! Okay, I think I'm gonna take some white and some of that cad yellow hue, which would be like moon yellow. I'm gonna mix those two together with my liner. Pale yellow. I do have a pale yellow here, but it's not a color that I like as well. So I just want to outline the ones that are on top here. I feel like I'm still losing those petals. Especially that one. Any of these steps that you don't want to do, you don't have to do. It's your sunflower. You can have fun with it and create it however you want. I think I might come back with that brown black mix and put another layer of that maybe around the center, or some orange or something, because I feel like I'm too bright now. My white, not dry yet. Make sure your paint's dry. Need to let it dry. I've got to come back with that black-brown mix because it's... This one down here is probably dry enough. So playing around with your color mixes is how you're going to learn how well paints work together. What colors blend well with other colors so you don't get muddy, ugly colors. Okay. So now I want to make sure that they look yellow. You know what I mean? They look like sunflowers. So I'm going to take my bright yellow and I'm going to create a wash bright yellow, which I just stuck my finger in. Goodness, I never had so much trouble painting. I'm going to take and add water to this, preferably clean water. I'm running out of palette space here. I'm going to have to get a new palette for my apples. Okay, so this is watery, and I want to cover all of my flower. All the way out to the tips. I want it to look yellow. But I want to stay within my lines. Really, a larger brush doing this is going to be the easiest. I have a 3/4 inch flat. Okay, looking good. Let's do the other one, and the little baby one. And we are ready to do our apples. And like I said, you can use the media fluids on here, and that would definitely brighten these up. Okay, I think just some little white in the center with our detail liner, and we will be done. And that should finish up the sunflowers and the leaves. So we are ready to work on our tomatoes, on our apples now. So on our apples, I want to use that dark red that I have, but I'm going to mix some black in with it. Santa red and black. I'm definitely going to have to get a different palette here. Let me just grab a foam plate and I'll mix it on here. Santa Red. I know I'm going to need more Santa Red than that, so let me just put some on here. Okay, and you really should not do that over your canvas, because it will spatter and do all of that. So we're going to shade. I've got water in my brush so that I can float this. Okay, we'll repeat that. I need to bring it out a little bit farther. Then this one, the tip was there, but we're going to shade on this side down here, along the bottom, and then up around these elements a little bit, because mostly the bottom of the apple and the bottom edge of it will be what's darker. To walk it out. You can still walk out on fabric. Let's make our little, this one's going to have one here, and then this one is up here. Our stems go. I'm going to take my detail liner and go ahead and add little hair things coming out down here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that when it's dry, but may not be able to see it at all. That one you really won't see because the way it's turned. But this one either, to be honest with you. That up. I'm just going to cover that up down there. Okay, those are looking pretty good. Apples really shouldn't take too long because they don't have a ton of detail. I think I will add a few little lines on them. How well they show up, I don't know. And we're going to highlight and add some stems on here. Okay, that's good enough for that. I'm going to go ahead and add, well, I think I'll wait to add the stem because I want to highlight behind where the stem is. So highlight, we're going to highlight with, I'm going to use bittersweet orange. I haven't used this anywhere in the design. I'm not sure I'm going to like it because it looks very chalky. So let's see what color we can build here. Okay, so I'm using the bright yellow and what is this? Cadmium orange hue. I'm not sure what color that would be in Americana. It's paler yellow, but it's almost got a chalky look to it. Let's highlight that edge. And definitely be brightening that up. That is really soaking down in there. I'm still using this 3/4 inch brush, but you can certainly go to whatever brush appeals to you. And like I said, you can add some berries in here. Some blueberries would be very pretty. Still haven't decided if I'm going to add some in here or not. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to go with just the yellow. I'm not going to wash my brush. I'm just going to go grab some more bright yellow on it. Re-stroke in my dark there. I'm going to wash over this with some red when we're done here, so don't be getting stressed out about how they look, because yep, that is very chalky looking. I mixed a little bit of white in with my yellow now. Just right on that dirty brush that had the yellow. Use the water edge and kind of move that paint where you want it. I'm going to wash some red over it here in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead now and add the stems on. Give these a little bit of a top on them where it looks like they broke off the grab a little bit of white and add some highlight on there. Wipe my brush off and get some black. Put this down at the base. Make sure we're good and dark down here. And pull some up on the stem. Alright, let's wash some red over it. Lots of water. This is the red I base coated it in, but it's the red I'm going to use. You can use whatever red. That black's really wet there, so I'm going to stay out of it so I don't pull it. Okay, I want a bright little highlight on there of just white. Didn't want that to be quite that fat. That one needs to be a little bit brighter right there. And then we're going to add a little bit of shading underneath these. So the shading part is what is the tricky part. You definitely want to make sure that your cardboard is all the way down. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of black. We want it to be really watery. Get a different plate. I'm using this 3/4 inch brush. I'm really working that in with that water. And I'm going to put a little bit in here, just the corner of the brush. Okay, then I'm going to grab a different brush with just some water, and I'm going to pull that out. Okay, some more of the black in here, and then just water. Pull it out. This is how we can create a little bit of a shadow around our stuff. Make sure you're using clean water when you're pulling this out. Make sure I got plenty of water in this brush. Okay, so I just put some black there. Now I'm going to take a damp brush and pull it out. More black in there. And more water. So we're creating a shadow. Alright, let me get some more black. Ooh, that's a lot of black. Wipe that off with my paper towel. And then we want to do around this one. Now I'm going to take my water and pull it out. And this is how we do a little shadow on fabric. And then as it dries, you can see it will fade back into the fabric. So you can come back and repeat it as many times as you need to. Got some red in my brush here. And this will be the part that will take the longest to dry. Okay. You can spatter this with some black because you know it's kind of speckly in the background, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not a spattering person. It's not one of my favorite things to do, so I just don't like the big mess that it makes. Clean up a little bit here. I want to get this dry now because we're going to stencil a word on here. So let me dry it real quick. Okay, it's still just a little bit wet down here, but I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape off of the back. I want to shake one of these over. Still have my cardboard down here so that can dry. Actually, I think I'll reverse that. Make sure the one on the bottom is down in the corner still with the apples. Shake it straight down. One's over this way, one's over this way. And that looks like I got red on there. I'm not really sure how I did that, but it looks like my red bled there and there. I mean, it looks okay on there. I just don't know where it came from. Interesting. Okay, so I have several stencils that will work on this design, so let me just show you all of them. I've got this one that says, let it be yourself, be happy, be thankful. So you could put be, leave one of the B's off of there and put be thankful on here. This one, joy comes in the morning. It has two different sizes on here, so you could put that on there, maybe the smaller one. I have this one that says, for all our blessings, we give thanks. So we could put just we give thanks on here or blessings on here. I have one that says sunflower. So you could put that on there. I'm not sure how it would work out. It would kind of go behind or over the flower petals there. And then I have this one. This one is 2 different sizes of Welcome Fall. So we could put Welcome Fall on here. And I have this one, which I didn't get the main one out of. It says Gather, Family, Home, and Thankful. So we have Thankful in a different font that we could put on here. We have Gather, which is what I was originally thinking of putting on here, was Gather. We could put Home on here, or Gather Home, or, you know, whatever. I think I'm going to use the Thankful on the Be Happy stencil. This one is called my Be Happy stencil. Make sure my cardboard's all the way over there. And so I'm going to figure out where I want it. I could put it down here, I could put it up here, but I think I'm going to put it right here, which is going to make it really close to the edge of the pillow. Get my tape back out, because I need to tape this down. I want to tape all of my edges because the letters are close and I don't want to get onto my fabric. I'm going to tape the word above so that I don't get into it accidentally. And we're going to use some black paint. And you can add bees or butterflies or whatever you would like into this as well. Like I said, some blueberries down around here would be really pretty. I just felt like that was going to make the video extremely long. So I've got a makeup sponge, and they're not very absorbent. So I pull a little bit of paint out, and then I tap it to disperse it along the sponge, but the sponge is not going to soak it up, so don't get tons. Now, when you're using a makeup sponge, you need to go up and down, straight up and down. No pushing or mushing or shoving it into the fabric. Light, soft layers is going to get you the best result. And you want to hold your stencil anyway, because on fabric they can bounce quite a bit. So you want to make sure you're just doing one letter at a time and keeping your hand on the stencil, keeping it from bouncing and moving around. And we will do this probably 3, maybe 4 times to get good coverage on here. It really just depends on how well it takes the paint. And this fabric seems to take the paint pretty well. So let's start back here again. A light layer. It's going to be 3 layers, I can tell, but they're light. Not a lot. I'm just gently tapping here. Get some more paint. Gently. Don't push, don't mush, don't swoosh. Just straight up and down. It's okay if you get paint on your fingers. You don't want paint to go under your stencil, so hold it in place. Gently tap. Up, down, up, down. Your finger's going to stick to the stencil, so make sure when you lift your finger up, you're not still pouncing. Let go of the stencil, or stop applying paint when you go to move your finger on the stencil. Okay, that is 2 layers, and I can tell it's not got full coverage on there, so I'm going to go with a 3rd layer. And this 3rd layer should be it. Again, I'm just using a little bit of paint. If you get too much paint, the only way to fix it is to go in with a paintbrush and try and straighten up any jagged edges. And really, it's okay if you don't have 100% coverage on every letter. Just makes it look a little more rustic and fun. Oops, I have a hold of that. Okay, so now I definitely want to clean my hands before I touch, because I have a lot of black paint on my hands, so I'm just going to do it with a baby wipe. Cleans it off very quickly. I keep baby wipes at my painting table at all times. I just buy a case of them at Sam's, and I used to stock up on them for the grandkids, and now I stock up on them for my painting room. Okay. So now I'm going to lift my stencil. I'll lift it slowly. And it did very well. I'm very happy with that. Move it to the side. And now I want to close all these gaps in my letters. These are called bridges. You have to have those when you make a stencil in order for it to make a letter. Otherwise it just cuts out that whole area, and it's not a nice, cool looking letter. So I'm going to close these in using my detail liner. And there's 3 of them on here. And that was my gather stencil that I used on my website in my stencils category. Alright, let's wide angle out. You can see the whole thing. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh, I love that. I love the wood grain behind it. This fabric painted up so beautifully. And I just really love how this turned out. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. The shading underneath the apples, it's very subtle. I could come back in and really darken that more there, which I might do. I haven't decided. I think it does need to be a little bit darker. So I'll try to do it with a little bit less water this time and just work some paint in and smooth it out. I just want these really dark areas to be, these shadowy areas to be shadowy. More water there. And I think that's really going to help it a little bit more. Okay. Although the shadow technically would be on the other side because I have my highlight on this side, so the shadow should be on this side. So, you know, all you people who are technical about those things or freak out a little bit about the shadow's on the wrong side. Oh my gosh. I don't stress out about that because, you know, I'm not doing fine art here. So we'll just bring it a little bit more over there because this is the side it should be on. So I've got to let this dry completely now, and then it will be ready for my pillow cover. Now you can heat set this if you want. Throw it in the dryer on a hot setting for, you know, 5 minutes or so and let it get the paint get heat set into it, but you don't have to, not with fabric paint. I tend to do that with mine no matter what kind of paint I use, just because then I know it's like permanently adhered to my fabric. So that's something you can do if you wish to. But this one turned out beautiful. I don't have a name for it yet. So I've got to come up with a name for it, but I hope that you all enjoy painting this one. It was really fun and relaxing for me. I love painting with fabric paints. Just beautiful, beautiful paints. So I just really need a name for this one. So, because I don't want to call it Thankful. I mean, you know, too on the nose there. Or Sunflower Pillow Cover, you know. I might call it my Harvest Pillow Cover. I think that's what I will call it. Harvest Pillow Cover. This is my Harvest line drawing. Add what you want to it, take away what you want, and just have a great time with it. Add some blueberries in there if you guys are going to be painting this. You will love that extra pop of color in there. So thanks so much for painting with me, you guys. I will see you on the next one. Give me a thumbs up, like, and share my videos. I appreciate every single one of you. Bye-bye, everybody.